Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on the Eldenwood Craft channel. My name's Emma and I'm going to be talking to you today about all the things I've been making since I last shared a video, which was right at the beginning of June. It's now the middle of July, so I've got a few things that I can share with you today. I've got 4 finished objects, 1 whip, 1 acquisition, 3 books, a little bit of shop news, and I think that is it. I'm under a little bit of time pressure, so it would be really nice to get this in under 40 minutes or so, so let's see how we do. I hope you're all well. Everything here is just fine. We haven't really done very much since I last recorded, I don't think. Well, our daughter's come home to live after finishing her degree. She's got her results, we've got a graduation in September, and we're all sort of adjusting back to life how it used to be 3 years ago. It's a little bit weird, a little bit strange, but it's lovely having her home. She's currently sunning herself in the Med somewhere, on holiday with some school friends. And I wish I was there because it's a blooming awful, grey, miserable, wet July day. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about the weather because it's pants. So I'm just going to get straight in with what you're here for. First off, just a little recap about the MAL that we're running on the channel. It's the Last to the Party Makealong, the Last to the Party MAL. And this came out of lots of comments that I had on a fairly recent video when I shared my finished ranunculus, and it was the first time I'd knit a ranunculus. Lots of people had said that they would like to too, but had never quite got round to it. So we're having a make-along that is dedicated to knitting or making something that it seems that the whole world has made apart from you. It runs until the end of August, or at least it runs until I next record after the end of August, which will be at some point in the first couple of weeks of September probably. There's lots of people taking part. It's lovely. It's a nice chatty group. So it's being run in my Ravelry group. You can enter on Instagram. You can email me if you don't use Ravelry or Instagram. I will leave all the make-along sort of rules, very loose rules, in the description box below the video, and if you would like to join in, it would be lovely to have you. I just did a quick look at some of the things that people are making before I started recording, and we've got an emotional support chicken, we've got several ranunculuses, and some have already been finished and look fabulous. There's a Sophie scarf, I think there's a Whitmore, there's a love note, there's a granny triangle, so some lovely lovely projects coming off the needles and hook. I've had a lovely donation offer of prizes. Come on, Emma. I've had a lovely offer of a prize from Nancy of the Knit Sip Happy podcast, who I had the absolute pleasure of meeting last year at the Southern Wool Show. Was it the Southern Wool Show? The one in Newbury. And I believe that I'm going to meet her again later this year when we go to the Lay Family Yarn retreat, the Woolay retreat, which would be lovely. It'd be nice to spend the weekend with her and lots of other lovely knitty people. So we've got some pattern prizes from Nancy. Thank you, Nancy, ever so much. Yeah, so that's it. As I said, the details, all the details about the MAL will be in the description box below, and the links to the threads and so on. So if you're interested in making something that everyone else seems to have made but you haven't, now might be your opportunity. We've got probably about 8 or 9 weeks of it still to run, so plenty of time. It did strike me during the week that I haven't got something on my needles that I could make for my entry into my own make-along, and I had to think about it, and I think what I'm going to make is a lento sweater. I've been wanting to make one of those for the longest time, and this seems like the right opportunity. So it's a pattern by Jonna Helen, and it's in Liner issue 11. I don't know what yarn well, I've got an idea of what yarn I'm going to use, but I need to do some thinking and see if I've got anything in stash that would be an option. So hopefully in the next video I will have something to share with you for that. But anyway, that's it for the make along. I want to get right into talking about the things that I have been making. So as I said earlier, I've got 4 finished objects. 3 of them are quite small and 1 of them is quite big, which is exciting. So I'm going to go smallest to biggest, I think, for no reason other than that was what was in front of me first. So my first finished object is a pair of socks. It is a pair of Rose City Rollers. There is the second one. These still need to be blocked. These are probably about my 10th pair of Rose City Rollers. I really like wearing them. They're great for the summer. They look great in trainers or Converse or, you know, that sort of thing. I cast on 60 stitches on 2.25mm wooden DPNs. That's how I usually knit my socks, that stitch count and those needles. This is the simplest of socks to knit. If you've never knit a pair of socks before, I would highly encourage you to try this one. It's a paid for pattern. Did I say that it was by Mara Catherine Brymer? I think that's her name. But the details will be in the show notes. You literally cast on, there is no ribbing, you're straight into a stockinette leg, very short leg, and then you put your heel in. I've done a slip stitch heel, turn the heel, decrease the gusset, knit plain knitting for the foot, and then a standard wedge toe. Really straightforward, really, really effective. The yarn is a test skein that I dyed up many moons ago when I was teaching myself how to dye yarn. I really like it a lot, so I am looking to reproduce this in a future shop update. So that is pair of socks number 1. Pair of socks number 2 were fresh off the needles yesterday, and they are another pair of socks that I have knit previously, but you know, when you find something you like, you go with it, don't you? And it is a pair of Peekaboo Socks. And again, there is the second. And like the Rose City Rollers, these were knit on 2.25mm wooden DPNs with a 60 stitch cast on. And again, they're really simple. They are, I took inspiration for this sock from Brain's Gone. I forget her name, I'm so sorry, but her podcast is Edible Thoughts Makes. Can't remember her name. It'll come to me when I finished recording. Anyway, she has a video on her channel. She has a brilliant podcast that I really, really like, and she has a video that shows you how to knit this particular cuff. It's a really comfortable sock to wear. It's a, if I show you on the one that's not on the blockers, I'll turn it inside out. You knit, there's no pattern for this, it's just a tutorial to do the cuff. So you start knitting here and then you knit, in my case, the brown contrast, and then you move into the main skein and you join the main skein with the brown with the contrast, and that gives you like a folded over cuff, and it creates a sort of padded, softly padded cuff. It's really, really comfortable to wear. You would need to know how to knit a pair of socks to make these, because there is no pattern, as I said. But yeah, once you've knit the cuff, then you basically do what you want with your sock. I have just knit a vanilla sock. I knit 20 rows of leg, and then again into a slip stitch heel, gusset decreases, plain vanilla knitting for the foot, and then I did a contrast toe, which is the same brown contrast that I used for the cuff. The yarn is another one of my skeins that I was playing about with when I started dyeing yarn. It was a 50 gram skein of yarn that I used. I've got several here actually. These never went into the shop and I don't know why. I could put them in and they knit up really nicely. I really like that variegated pattern, the blues and the browns. But the socks weigh 59 grams and there were 5 grams left from this main skein for both socks. My Rose City Rollers are really economical with yarn. This pair weighed 42 grams. So you can easily get 2 skeins out of a 100 gram skein of yarn. Anyway, back to the Peekaboo socks. What was I saying? Yeah, so the yarn is knit from the socks are knit from one of these skeins. If anyone would like one or more of these, feel free to drop me an email or something. I've only got 3 and I don't have the recipe for them, but if anyone wants them, I wasn't planning on putting them in the shop, but if anyone wants them, let me know and I will happily sell them to you. Right, so yeah, there we go. Peekaboo socks, finished object number 2. I hope that wasn't too rambly. I'm feeling very out of practice. Serves me right for not making the time to come back and record. Right, project number, finished object number 3. I shared with you on the podcast last time. I had started the Kaarina Shawl, which is a pattern, paid for pattern by Sari Nordland. And I have finished it and I love it. So here it is. It's a, hold it up like that. It's one of those small scarves that take just 1 skein of yarn. The yarn in this case, I'm afraid it's another one of mine, but I've really been enjoying knitting out of yarn that I've been dyeing. I have got a project on the go though that is not one project on the go that's not in my yarn, so I will share that later. But this is in a DK weight skein of yarn and the colourway is Headlights. I have sold out of all the ready to ship yarn, but I can reproduce this, so it is available as a made to order, dyed to order skein as well. So this is, as you can see, it is a cabled, am I showing it the right way? Yeah. It's a cabled shawl, knit from tip to tip, and I thoroughly enjoyed making it, knitting it, but I haven't yet worn it obviously because it's summer, but it will just keep my neck nice and warm, either as I'm mooching about the house or going out. I quite like something small around my neck to keep it warm. Yeah, and because it's DK weight and it's cabled, it's got a nice sort of squish factor to it. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this. It's given me a bit of a taste for knitting cables, which you will see later. I have another cable project on the go. Right, what else can I tell you about this? The pattern is a paid for pattern, I think I said that. It is fully charted. There are very few written instructions. I think it's just instructions to get you going. But the rest of the pattern is fully charted. And as someone who doesn't have a lot of experience of working with charts, I found it really straightforward to work through the pattern. There were a few mistakes right at the beginning. I couldn't tell you which side, where did I start? Was it this side or this side? I can't remember. I think it was I think this is where I started. So I made a few sort of beginner cabling errors. I've not really, as well as not using charts very much, I've not cabled very much as well. So it took me a little while to get the hang of what all the symbols in the chart meant and where my held stitches were supposed to go. So there are a handful of mistakes, but we don't mind about that, do we? But as I progressed through the shawl, those mistakes became less frequent. Yeah, I'm just really pleased with it. It was a fun project to do. It takes almost a whole skein of DK weight yarn. This weighs 97 grams, I think, so you would need that full skein. I didn't gauge swatch. I assume there is a gauge requirement in the pattern, but you know, does anyone really swatch for a little shawl like this? I don't know. Yeah, so very happy with that. I will look forward to wearing that when the weather turns a little bit cooler. Right, my final finished object is again something that I have made before, something that I have really enjoyed wearing before, and so I thought I would make myself another one, and it is another, ta-da! It's another Ranunculus. It is another Ranunculus knit out of drop spell. It is another Ranunculus knit at a tighter gauge than the pattern calls for, and it is another finished Ranunculus. I will just stand up very quickly so you can see. It's a bit easier to see the pattern on this version compared to the dark blue version that I knit previously. If you are new here, in the last episode I wore a finished Ranunculus in a navy blue knit out of drop spell, and I am so happy with it. I have worn it so many times and it's worn really well, and so I thought I needed a second one, I needed a light one, and so I have gone for, this is shade 03, which I think is the light beige colourway from Drops, and it really helps to show the pattern. So if you have not come across the Ranunculus before, let me walk you through what I have done. So I cast on at the top, I use the wide neckline. The pattern, which is by Midori Hirose, gives you a couple of cast on options. I didn't use those, I just used a German twisted cast on, I think. I cast on for the wide neck, and for the main body of the sweater I used 5mm needles instead of the 6mm needles that are called for in the pattern. I didn't want a very open gauge sweater. I really liked the fabric that I got using 5mm needles for my first Ranunculus, so I went with that again. The pattern has you put short rows in at the front and at the back. I did the ones here at the back, but I did not put any in at the front. And then you work through the texture and lace pattern, and then when you finish that you do a series of raglan increases to get you to the width of the sweater that best suits you for and what ease you want. The pattern calls for a lot more positive ease than I like, so I knit size 3. Remember, this is on smaller needles, so the whole size 3 is going to be a bit well, whatever size you make. If you're, I've got an itchy nose. If you're using smaller needles than the pattern calls for, your project is going to be a bit smaller. So I knit for a size 3, and that On this gauge, which is 18 stitches per 4 inches, the pattern calls for 14 stitches per 4 inches. Knitting size 3 on 5mm needles, I came out with about 1 to 2 inches of positive ease. Yeah, it still needs blocking, so I didn't put it on. It doesn't actually look like it needs a huge amount of care and attention, but I will spray block it and I'll wear it next time. Anyway, I was saying how I knit this up. So once you've done your raglan increases, and I think I added a handful more than the pattern calls for because I'm longer up here than the measurements in the pattern. Then you split for the sleeves. Again, the pattern gives you a couple of sleeve options. You can either I won't explain too much, but yeah, so I split for the sleeves. I knit on the body. I did a shorter rib. The pattern calls for quite a deep rib. I just did about 8 rows of rib, and then I knit 3 rounds of stocking stitch, and again about 8 rows of rib on the sleeves. I'm really happy with it. It's nice to have a dark and a light one. This weighs 267 grams, which is just under 6 balls of drop spell. I had a quick look at Wool Warehouse. I got my drops from, oh, can't remember. It wasn't Wool Warehouse. I'll put where I bought my yarn from in the description box, but Wool Warehouse has drops on sale at £2 at the moment. They have got a sale on. I'm not sure if that's included in the sale, but £2 is such good value for money. Belle is a viscose linen cotton mix, and using 6 balls, that sweater cost me £12, which I think is an absolute steal. Excuse me. Right, what else can I tell you? I think that's about it. Have I explained that clearly? Do you have any questions? If you do, let me know. I'm very happy to answer them. I think that will be it for a ranunculus knit for me for a while, but I would like to knit a winter one with long sleeves and yeah, something suitable for the winter. Okay, on to my one work in progress that I'm going to share with you. It is a cowl. It's the Tendril Cowl, which is a free pattern by Pearl Soho. I am knitting it out of some stash yarn that I've had for many years. Just trying to organise it as I speak to you. It's split into 2 balls. So it is a skein of, have I got the ball band? I do. It's a skein of Dusty Dimples in the colourway Mozzafiato brackets breathtaking. It's Dusty Dimples, Dusty Sock Base, 75/25 superwash merino nylon. Whoops. Split into 2 balls like so. Split into 2 balls because the pattern calls for DK weight yarn, and I really wanted to knit this using stash yarn, and I didn't have anything appropriate in stash that I wanted to use. So that's one of the reasons I really like buying a fingering weight base. So this is a fingering weight base. You get 425 meters to 100 grams. It's really versatile because if you just hold it double, you get roughly a DK weight base or a worsted weight base yarn. So you kind of get 2 for the price of 1 in a way. So those are my 2 skeins. My 2 balls skeined up, and this is what we've got. So it's looking quite small at the moment, but that's because it needs a bit of a block, or get a block when it's finished. But you can see those lovely cables. I'm really enjoying this so much. It's all the knit stitches. I mean, I can tell you everything about this because it is a free pattern. It's downloadable on Ravelry, or I imagine, or it is on the Pearl Soho website as well. So the knit stitches are all knit through the back loop, which gives a really nice definition to the stitches. And it is just one big cabled lovely project. You've got sort of travelling cables, you've got these sort of intertwining, well, cables by their very nature intertwined, but very sort of heavily intertwined. Oh, I really like it. So what can I tell you about this? It takes one skein of DK weight yarn. You cast on 120 stitches on 4.5mm needles. These are, I think I'm using Knit Pro Novas. Yeah, these are one of the very few pairs of Knit Pro Novas that I have with their purple cable. And it is a fully charted pattern. Again, I don't know if, I'm sure there aren't written in, well actually I think there might be written instructions, but anyway, I can show you the cable because it's a free pattern. I can show you the pattern. So this is what I'm working from. I've written down the number of each row and I'm just marking it off as I go. You knit this cable pattern twice, and then you do a portion of it once more, and then that's the cowl finished. Each repeat, I think there are four repeats on each row of the cable pattern, and each repeat is 30 stitches, and there are 28 rounds for each pattern repeat. And I'm just marking where I am in the pattern with a piece of washi tape, so when I finish a round I just move it up one and have my pens hanging off so I never lose them. So yeah, really enjoying that. I imagine I will get this finished in the next week probably, and then I'll need to think about what I'm going to knit next. I don't believe that Dusty Dimples is dying at the moment. I haven't seen her mentioned anywhere, and I haven't seen her online. I saw her at a few shows I mean, I've had this for many years. I bought this at Unravel before COVID, and she always used to have the most beautiful stall set up. It was lovely. So I don't know if she's dying anymore, but if she's not, it's a shame because she created beautiful yarns. Anyway, there we go. That is it for everything that I've been working on. There are a couple of projects that I'm not showing. I mentioned a few episodes ago that I was working on a granny triangle blanket. I'm just making a load of granny squares out of odds and ends, and that is sort of kind of going on in the background. I've probably only knit about, or crocheted about 4 squares since I last recorded, but it's a very long-term project. And the other project that hasn't seen any action for well over a year is a little toy duck that I was making. I got totally swept along in a phase of hysteria about a beautiful book of little farm animal, or not farm animals, little animals. I bought the book, I cast on, and I haven't touched it since. So anyway, there we go. Right, let's move on to the one new skein that I have bought. I don't buy myself a lot of yarn, but when I saw who the most recent guest dyer was with Lay Family Yarns, I knew that I would be buying their yarn. And it arrived this morning. Was it this morning? Yes, it was this morning. And here it is. Oh, that looks beautiful on screen. So this is a skein of Lay Family Yarn sock yarn, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 425 meters to 100 grams. And this colourway was created by lovely Ali from Little Drops of Wonderful. She spent a day creating this with Kelly and Nick, and she dyed a number of skeins, and then Nick and Kelly dyed the or continued to dye them and put them in the shop. So it's a lovely, beautiful green colourway, and it's called Woodland Walk, in celebration of Ali's love for going on walks. It's really lovely. I was talking with I was talking this morning about what could do with this, and I'm quite tempted to knit a pair of crunkled socks patterned by Kay Jones from the Bakery Bears. But yeah, lovely. I hope to cast that on soon. I've got another one of the guest dyes, the one that Gaynor dyed, the Herkle Durkle. Have I got that out? I did have it out. Yeah, I know I'd like to get both of those cast on actually. Anyway, yeah, so that's my one acquisition. Okay, on to books. I have got 3 books to tell you about. When I last recorded, I was reading A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. Towles or Tolles, I can't remember how you say his surname. At that point I was really enjoying it, but I got to within, I don't know, I got a little bit further on in the book, and I don't know what it was. I just didn't want to pick the book up again. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the character of the Count, but I don't know. I just found I just lost interest in it. It was lovely writing. There was nothing wrong with it, but I just lost interest. And so what I did was I found a chapter guide online, and I read a chapter summary of each chapter that I had left to read. So I know what happened. So I'm calling it finished. I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads, but I sent the book off to the charity shop because I knew I wouldn't read it again. Another book that I am unlikely to finish is one that I'm reading with a group of friends, and it is, well, this is going to shine because of the library cover. It's The Botanist's Daughter by Kate Nunn. That's an utterly beautiful cover. It's a library book, so it's got one of those library see-through plastic covers on, so it is going to shine. It's a really beautiful cover. It's a dual timeline story, one set in the modern day, one set in the 1880s, I think, about the 2 female protagonists from each timeline, both botanists, and they both have an adventure, and it sort of the stories intertwine. Again, it's another book that I just don't want to pick up anymore. I got to about chapter 17, I think, and I found I wasn't picking it up. The story just wasn't calling to me, and I didn't want to carry on. I'm going to give it a few more days to percolate, because it's really nice reading it with a group of friends, and that group of friends I think are all really enjoying it, but we can't all enjoy every book, can we? So it's a library book. It's due back a week today, and I've got this week to decide whether I'm going to continue reading it or not. Yeah, so that's that. However, on better news, I am also reading and absolutely thoroughly enjoying My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. I've only got that little bit left to read. It's an absolutely wonderful story. It's about a young chap called Philip. I can't remember his surname, but he was orphaned at a young age and was brought up by, okay, so Philip Ashley. My memory is dreadful sometimes. Philip Ashley was raised by a chap called Ambrose, his cousin Ambrose. Ambrose goes off to Florence, falls in love with a woman called Rachel, marries her, and then Ambrose dies. And Philip goes out to Florence to see what has happened. Actually, he went out to Florence before Ambrose died, and when he got to Florence he found out that Ambrose had died. Anyway, he didn't meet Rachel on that trip. Rachel then travels back to Cornwall where Philip lives, and the story is about the development of their relationship. There's something going on. There's something not quite right about the situation with Ambrose and with Rachel, but I don't know what it is, and we're getting very close to finding out. So it's just written so well, it's so atmospheric, every single word is perfectly used, the writing is brilliant. It's also set at the same time as The Botanist's Daughter. Funnily enough, it's set in around about the 1880s. But it just feels really modern the way it's been written. Yeah, highly, highly recommend. Unless the ending is really disappointing, this will be a full-on 5-star read for me. So yeah, fabulous. Right. The only other thing to chat about is my shop. If you are unaware of what I do for a living, I run Eldenwood Craft, which is my online shop where I make project bags for knitters and crocheters, and I also now dye yarn. I've been working on some new project bags, and I will be having a shop update before the end of the month. I don't know when exactly, but it will be happening within the next couple of weeks. And I've got 3 fabrics that I will share with you. They're going to be available in all my 3 standard bag sizes, and I think I've got some notions pouches as well coming this time. But the 3 fabrics are this lovely bluebird fabric. I'm showing you these on my midi sized bags, which fit sort of projects up to about 5 skeins. So bluebirds, this it's a sort of pale linen-y colour animal print. It's the light is not working very well with it today, but yeah, I really like that one. And I have got this lovely coppery coloured, also animal print with rabbits, and there's pheasants on some. Well, you can see the pheasants on the bag's bottom. Yeah, so I really like that coppery colour, it's lovely. So they will be coming to the shop soon. I think in a separate update I will have a new yarn collection. I've been working on that, although I've not had a lot of time to do that, hence it being not quite ready. But there will be 4 or 5 new yarn colourways coming in that collection. Yeah, that's about it. Right, so I'm going to wrap up there. If you've made it this far, thank you ever so much for watching. I really appreciate the time that you give to this podcast. It's really lovely having you here. It's lovely having someone to talk to about what I'm working, and someone who actually understands and gets it. It's a lovely thing to do, and it's lovely to have you here week in, week, or episode in, episode out. So thank you. If there are any questions that you've got arising out of any of the projects that I shared, please do either drop them in the comment box below the video, or drop me an email or something like that. I'm always happy to help and answer any questions. If there's been anything that you've enjoyed in this video, please do give me the thumbs up. YouTube really likes it when there is interaction with a video. It helps push it up the algorithm. So if you have enjoyed it, it would be lovely to have a thumbs up from you, and it would be lovely to have a comment. You know, all these things help. But I will leave you there. I will be back. I'll probably won't be back until the next video will be early September. I try and do these monthly, but I'm not. It's summer and we've got things to do, so I'm not going to do an end of July one, and anyway it would only be a couple of weeks. So I'm going to come back at the very beginning of September to show you what else I've been working on and to draw the prizes for the Makealong that we've got running. So until then, have a lovely rest of your summer if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, or winter if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. And I will see you in September. Take care, lots of love. Goodbye.